Okay, let's go through this. 10.2 Loreblick, Saloon, Primordial, World Trees, and more. So this is the first one on the nature of the dream, written by an unnamed dragon. The note contains speculation not to be shared with the keepers. I've spent ages here within the Emerald Dream, exploring its reaches and basking in its tranquility. Yet the more I experience, the more what I perceive seems to be at odds with lessons taught to us by the Titan Keepers. Thus, I'm compelled to share my feelings here, not to stir discontent or to claim my theories are immutable truths, but to encourage others to ponder these subjects for themselves. Seeking an answer, I've spoken to many spirits who inhabit the dream. Dryads, ancients, grove keepers, and others. None of them tell of a Titan creating the dream. Instead, they speak of the first spirits awakening long ago within its wilds, in lands as beautiful and free as they are today. None of them tell of a Titan creating the dream. That's interesting. Though I wonder, since time has so little meaning here, whether those born of the dream truly think in terms of past or present. Okay. We have also been told that the dream is a sort of framework for life on Azeroth, and it is true that we can see reflections of our world within the dream. Yet, while it is clear these realms share a bond, is one a copy of the other? Or might both be reflections, each informing the shape of its counterpart? That's interesting. It's almost like Ash Twin Project. Or Ash Twins. The twins, whatever the fuck. Many times I've shrugged off the call of sleep and taken wing to explore the distant reaches of the dream. The farther I flew, the greater the wonders I beheld. Life took forms strange and unfamiliar. Bizarre, impossible plants and trees. Creatures unlike any I beheld before. Perhaps the dream is bound not only to Azeroth, but to realms not yet discovered. Is it a reflection of those places too? Yes, and I believe it is. And this is why, okay, lore time with Pyromancer. In Lunaria, which is the sanctum of Aenar, where she has been hiding from the Legion for millennia, when you first go into the room, and you have to look quickly, if you look down below the platform, there is a large Genosaur. A Genosaur, as far as we are aware, can only be found on one place and one place only. Alternate Draenor. Okay? And they were apparently present on original Draenor, back before Outland became a thing. So, the fact that Aenar has one of these in Lunaria. So, this is gonna sound fucking weird, chat, but I'm pretty sure Lunaria is in the dream. Like, I think it might even, like, be the dream. Like, the dream itself could be Lunaria. Now, another thing is, I believe Lunaria could potentially be a celestial body orbiting Azeroth. And in the cosmological map for World of Warcraft, it actually shows it as such that the Shadowlands and the Emerald Dream are like orbiting bodies, almost like moons near Azeroth, potentially. So there is a possibility that what this is referring to here is that Lunaria, the dream, potentially, is not just connected to Azeroth, but maybe other worlds. And I think that what we discover in Lunaria, where Aenar is found, is also hinting that that Genosaur came from somewhere. Genosaurs are not inherently evil, but the botanists that worship Genosaurs would seek to raise these spore mounds, impossible, unfamiliar tree, plant-like creatures that are essentially like life old gods. And by that I mean they're like giant chaotic amalgamations of life that would essentially destroy everything around them, because they're vicious and would compete to be the top, thing. And it would essentially consume everything in the world until only the spore mound remained, and then the spore mound would die, or it would kill. It would twist inward on itself and begin like feeding upon itself, similar to Galakron becoming necrotic. And I think very similar to old gods, okay? I think that there's a very good chance that if a spore mound can be sentient and intellectual and chaotic and kind of scary and have tentacles and roots and those kinds of things, that doesn't seem that different from an old god, you know? An old god just seems to be made out of flesh or corrupted flesh of some kind. Maybe it's what happens when a spore mound twists inward upon itself. Maybe it becomes this horrific amalgamation of rot and decay. Maybe that's what occurs. Oh yeah, they can also create plant undead. Yeah, spore mounds can do that too, and the botanists can do that too. It's kind of freaky. So this is very interesting to me. The farther that they flew, but I wonder if they ever met the end. So at the far reaches, I felt the presence of entities whose power seemed... Hold on a second. At these far... I haven't read this for the record. At these far reaches, I felt the presence of entities whose power seemed vast and unknowable, akin to the Titans themselves. Had I reached the edges of the dream where it flows into the realms of life? And it's capitalized, of course. Are they one and the same? Truly, I cannot say, for as waves of joy and contentment washed over me, I could no longer resist the call of sleep. So, do the dream, like, literally put... Dude, that freaks me out. I don't like the dream, bro. The dream is like... it's just like H.P. Love... It's not just like it, but it's very similar to H.P. Lovecraft's Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. Like, there is an entire Dreamlands. And there's a map of it. And, this reminds me of it. I don't like that. I don't like that in the dream. Like, they go out there discovering things, and the joy and contentment, the tranquility of the dream basically pacifies and lulls them back to sleep. I awoke back at the Eye of Ysera, which is in the core of the dream, wondering if I'd experienced a dream within the dream. It seems clear that the servants of the Titans wish the dream to stay unchanging. At least, unchanged by any hand but theirs. Yet, the very nature of life is one of change, is it not? Yep, life is inherently chaotic. Things are born, live, and die, but life itself goes on. Perhaps life was never meant to be ordered, to be static and unchanging. Yeah, no shit! That's why the light freaks me out, because Velen says shit like light and life are the same, and they can be interchanged, but nothing is ever lost. And with the light on alternate Draenor forcing pacification, forcing their power, forcing their hand upon Maghar orcs who are just life living, doing their thing, they're not really doing anything like intentionally evil or anything like that, but the light over there sees it like that. And people think that that's a reflection of Yrel being like just, oh, her character was turned into an evil maniac. Well, guess what? When you are a devout servant of the literal shepherds of the light in the universe, i.e. the Naru and the fucking Eridar, what do you think is going to happen? Like, I'm sorry, but Yrel was probably fucked for a long time. Like, I'm sorry, but she's a zealot, and she's in a group of zealots. Like, that's just what they are. So this, like, the fact that you could theoretically replace life with light is terrifying, because that is essentially a way to extend life artificially. But if you know what happens in the World of Warcraft lore, what happens when the power that sustains light is lost? What happens? What happens? So think about this. If we take light and we spread it all around, all the life, and that's a great thing, and it's sustaining us and everything, that's awesome, but what about when it doesn't anymore? That's where void comes from. So, maybe don't do that. Or have a Naru munch on a bunch of souls. Yeah, did we forget that zone already? What was it, the Twilight Crucible? The Titan servants do not seem to understand that life and death are sisters. Sisters is an interesting term. That could be Aenar and Elune. But they did suggest really heavily in Shadowlands that Aenar is the sister of the Winter Queen. So life and death, perhaps, but I think Elune is in there as well. bound together in a great cycle. Do they not wish to see this truth? Or is it beyond their fundamental nature to perceive it? I think that they see the truth. This is my speculation, chat. I think the Titans see the truth. I think that they know that life and death are sisters, and that there is a cycle that needs to be adhered to. But I don't think that the Titans can do anything about it. And I've talked about this before, and I'm gonna say it again. That is because, and it says it in Chronicle, I don't know if it's true because it's from Chronicle, but it says in Chronicle that the Titans swore an oath to protect life whenever possible. And one thing that I've learned about World of Warcraft is that oaths are unbreakable when you swear them under the right circumstances. And to that, what I mean to say is, if you guys recall in Legion, we go into Hell to fight Helya. And the deal is that if we are able to defeat her, that we are to be let go. We are to be set free. And that's the deal. We swear on it. And Helya tries to go back on that when we're there. And the Valkyr descend from the sky, and it's said from one of the Valkyr, very specifically, that even in her own realm, the bindings of the oath that she took will see like justice done, right? That is to say, like, you don't get to go back on what you said, Helya. Like, you swore an oath, so like, here we are. It's like, they're gonna go, right? So I think, and those are literally descendants of the Titans. Some of the most direct descendants of the Titans, period, are them. The Valkyr and Helya. Odin, Agramar, or not Agramar, Odin and fucking Loken, and all the others, okay? So here's the thing. I think that because they swore an oath, I don't think that the Titans understood what they were doing. And by that I mean, I don't think that they understood that they were binding themselves to an oath. Or maybe they did understand it, but like, they're bound, I think, by like law and by order. And I believe that the Titans are essentially sworn to protect Aenar life whenever possible. And I think that's why we found her on her own little sanctuary when we were infiltrating Antorus, the Burning Throne. I think that's why all the other Titans were subjugated by the Coven of Shavara and Aenar was not. And I think that that's exactly why Sargeras has had the fate that he has. I genuinely think that Aenar sought to see Sargeras permanently cast out of the Titans because maybe he did not want to swear that oath. Maybe he perceived a flaw in the nature of their actions. Maybe that's why Sargeras decided to go on the path that he chose of destruction and rebirth through flame, because he found that something was inherently flawed about the universe. That's what they say, at least, right? So this whole thing here about, do they not wish to see this truth? Or is it beyond their fundamental nature to perceive it? I don't think it is beyond their fundamental nature to perceive it. And if it is, I would say it's not beyond all of their fundamental natures to perceive it. I would say Aenar most likely can perceive this. She must be aware of this, given that she is almost seemingly more aligned with life and nature than she is with order. So I'm sure that Aenar can see this. Now, whether or not the other Titans can, I don't know. Maybe Sargeras and Aenar are the only two that could see this truth. Maybe that's the key going on here. Maybe it is only Sargeras and Agramar, or Aenar, that could literally understand this truth. And that's why there was a conflict. Did you guys know in the old Shadows and Light lore that there was always a conflict in the Titan Pantheon between Aman'Thul and Sargeras? And it says that the presence of Aenar exacerbated that feud between the brothers who were always butting heads. That Aenar's involvement literally made it worse. That's interesting. If we dragons see it, then it can only mean that we are touched not just by life and order, but other forces as well. Lumino, You see what they're doing here? Dude, do you see this shit? You remember how we were talking about Sargeras being more draconic than demonic in some aspects? Interesting that dragons have the ability to, maybe they're touched by more than just life and order. I wonder who else could have fiddled with the dragons that we totally have no context about doing anything with dragons at all, even though Deathwing is like literally his dragon version. It couldn't have been Sargeras. No, it couldn't have been. We talked about this, what, in late Legion, early BFA? Yeah, dude. It's... They're so funny, dude. They're so funny. And if dragons are the product of powers great and small, being eternally intertwined, then so must all mortals be. Perhaps Azeroth herself was touched by all these forces. Or could she be their source? Some things are beyond knowing. Some things are meant only to be pondered in dreams. Lumino, they literally said it! Perhaps Azeroth herself was touched by these forces, or could she be their source? There you go. There you go. There you go. One of my primary theories that Azeroth is creation and the source of everything. Interesting that they would choose to bring it up in this short story, this little book. Now, once again, this is a character in the game. Some things are only meant to be pondered in dreams. What do you suppose that means? You know this, anytime we get back into the dream stuff, you know what it brings me back to? Jaina. She said, my father once told me that peace is like a dream. Beautiful, ephemeral, unattainable. I didn't listen. No one listened. And I know that that was relevant for BFA. But I think that there's more subtle hinting in there than just words for the expansion. The Amber Dream is supposed to be one of the first expansions for WoW. We're talking about Chris Metzen. Okay? Metalhead, 40K fan, big D&D nerd. Are you really telling me that Chris Metzen wrote a story where the old, boring, bearded guy and his hot girlfriend are actually the good guys? You mean to tell me that? You're gonna try to convince me Chris Metzen did not write a story where the flaming, badass demon guy was not actually the good guy? That's what that's what people want me to believe? That's what you want me to believe? That's what Chris Metzen wrote? No, sir. I don't believe it.